Good morning and welcome to all the participants joined in the daily virtual program on work-life balance conducted by Professional Skills Enrichment Committee of Institute of Chartered Accountant of India in association with Heartfulness. We have with us today's resource person, Mr. Ankur Chauhan sir, and our expert CA Pradeep Gupta sir from Heartfulness. Ankur Chauhan sir is the senior principal application engineer at Cadence Design System. He has also done MTech from IIT Delhi and BE Electronics and Communication from RGPV College. He is a certified heartfulness meditation expert and practicing meditation for over 25 years. His area of interest is meditating with young hearts and write Python code for data analysis. With this, I am handing over the session to Ankur Chauhan sir for further proceeding. Over to Ankur Chauhan sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome, and it's really lovely to interact with all of you. That's something which is which is very special today. United Nations declared 21st December as the World Meditation Day, and we have this is our first session and first meditation day in the in the history. So we are actually putting together a milestone and foundation. So I think I'm very excited about being sharing this and being part of this entire session. We are going to create a new history, so that's something which is make me excited. I was going over the entire history of whatever we have covered with you people, and it is really it's wonderful to see we have touched base upon forming habits, how to touch base on our inner self, inner potential, how to access it. There are several there is so much of importance in giving to work-life balances, and there are several tips that's been shared by many experienced people. So we are all learning all these things over the phase, going through solving problems, and something which always comes to my mind is we evolve from what we are today to something new next day. So this evolution or this change of our understanding is being accelerated these days, and rightly so, because of the amount of work that's been gifted to us, and we are participating in it. So there is something which my intention was to cover is more about on the consciousness aspect, because that builds the base of our day-to-day activity. And I have a couple of videos which is lined up and which I want to share with all of you. In case I will try to give a pause between every video and try to give a summary on or just whatever my understanding about those videos are. And in case you have certain questions, we can put it in the chat and I can take it up, as and when that comes in. So with that, I'll just start my first video, and let's understand what this, how the background is, okay? And then we'll, touch base on slightly in-depth aspect. So let me just share my screen. Great. Full screen mode and play the video.
Which Swami Vivekananda once mentioned that we all have some level of consciousness. We all have. but it's very thin layer of consciousness. All the spiritual practices, the purpose of yoga is to fly into a sky of superconsciousness and allow your consciousness to also dive deeper in subconscious oceans. Fantastic. It's very nice to hear about superconscious and subconscious, but how to arrive at superconscious state? This thought process must result into feeling. And here where heartfulness meditation helps. In 1873, a gentleman named Ramchandra was born in Fatehgarh, North India, UP. He reinvented this age-old technique of pranavati. So the state of superconsciousness can be accelerated with the help of pranavati, the help of yogic transmission. And I often tell young minds, please don't trust me when it comes to fundamental things like this. Have a scientific approach, even with religious things. That when someone says yogic transmission is there, look at it with a lot of skepticism. In the beginning, you must dissect it, you must analyze it, whether this will change my consciousness or not. So, first thing I have to do, I must meditate on my own without this transmission, just to compare the control versus placebo versus actual transmission. You all have meditated without transmission, so there is no problem. Now, introduce this method of meditating on the heart, but without yogic transmission. Write down your result. And I recommend you only just 15 to 20 minutes of meditation with yogic transmission. Decide it for yourself. You are the scientist, your heart is the laboratory, and you are the judge. And I assure you, the shift in consciousness is instant.
This is something which is, important, I would say. Our lifestyle lot more depends upon the, how we understand what is affecting our consciousness. As mentioned in the video, we have, a very thin layer of consciousness, which is, we are aware of our awareness of our environment. And there is a huge ocean of subconsciousness and sky high superconsciousness. That is something which is, utilizing it for our day-to-day activity is something which is an art that can be learned. So something which is, very simple example that we have learned in the habit formation, the way we have started learning the driving. Initially, we have to put a conscious effort. And then gradually, things becomes automatic. And that explains that there is a shift of a subconscious, of a conscious effort into a subconscious mind. And then our system and the muscle memory adjust itself to perform that task. We have seen people are very beautiful orator. They can build up the story very well. There are people who can work through crisis like anything. They can, handle any crisis. They can maintain their posture. So each one of us has a very unique strength in which we are best. We perform our best, and that sweet spot is something, if we can remain in that, is what we try to identify first. And the best thing which I usually found is how to identify that is to maintain a journal where I usually write down that, okay, today this was my experiment, this is something new I tried, and this is my result over the day. It might be good, might not be in my favor, it might be in it might be prolonged to another day. So this exercise gets prolonged to even to next day. And I've seen at times results do come, but it takes time. We heard about 5 years plan, where we set up a action today, something that I do today, so that into coming 2 to 3 years, my results starts flowering up. And this is called what we can term as a sankalpa, where we put our will or our intention to have something happen. And it all starts from the field of consciousness. It's something that we do today to make the change happen in the future. So let's understand the other aspects, like in words of Daji, he has beautifully explained what as per him is consciousness. I'll share that video. Just 1 minute. Okay. Let's make it full screen, and I'm just playing it. This is a simple definition which in his research Daji has identified and is sharing with us. There could be multiple definitions.
Our available consciousness is sandwiched between two giant oceans. So through yoga, through yogic practices, we explore this consciousness. Namaste everyone, and today we will explore what is this consciousness, what is it made up of, and how to help it evolve. Simple definition of consciousness is degree of our awareness. Degree to which I am aware, that also means to degree to which I am unaware. How to make our available consciousness go into higher mode, into super consciousness, and dive deeper into our subconsciousness. In the words of Swami Vivekananda, where he says, the purpose of life is to make this available consciousness to soar higher into the sky of subconsciousness and allow it to dive deeper into subconsciousness, into the ocean of subconsciousness. Somewhere he has also spoken about it, where he says, our available consciousness is sandwiched between two giant oceans. So through yoga, through yogic practices, we explore this consciousness. We play with consciousness. Finally, we have to transcend even the consciousness. Let's see what this consciousness is made up of. In Sanskrit, we call Chit. Chitta is made up of Manas, Buddhi, and Ahankar. So consciousness is made up of mind, intellect, and ego. Now, when we explore this further, what becomes of mind as it evolves? What becomes of intellect as it evolves? And what becomes of ego as it evolves? When we meditate, especially in the heartfulness way, with the help of yogic transmission, with pranavati, we begin with this idea that my heart is filled with the presence of divinity. Or we begin with this suggestion just before the meditation that my heart is filled with the source of divine presence, which is attracting me inwards. So we begin with a mere thought, mere sankalpa, mere suggestion, a prayerful suggestion. Now, if this thought remains a thought, and I go on repeating like a mantra, then I'll be too busy with recitation, with thought. Then mind will not go anywhere. It will be busy simply with this thought. It is trapped. It became habitual. It remains trapped in its unconscious, habitual format. It must allow us to feel the presence that upon which we are meditating. When I'm meditating on the presence of divinity in my heart, I must be able to feel the essence of divinity. What is that essence of divinity? Absolute silence, absolute love. It comes in incremental way. Incremental because there too we need some level of tolerance. We have lost the ability to grasp and feel that ultimate silence, ultimate peace. So the doses of peace and calmness and samadhi-like states that we receive will have to match with our level of tolerance, level of acceptance, level of purity. Greater the purity, greater will be the depth in which we'll be diving. So, as we meditate, we move from the initial thought, the thought that there is presence of divinity in my heart, and slowly in the same meditation, we begin to feel the presence. So we move from thinking to feeling. Thus we are training our mind to orient more towards the heart. We move from the reactive mind to responsive heart. This journey of moving from reactive mind to responsive heart is unique. We did not wait for years or next life. It has to be experienced here and now. And this is possible because of this yogic transmission pranavati offered under heartfulness way of meditation. Heartfulness way of meditation through pranavati helps us soar higher into superconsciousness. Superconsciousness is a feeling. It can be felt. It cannot be taught. I cannot fabricate my thoughts while I'm in superconsciousness. You can play with your thoughts in ordinary level of consciousness. We have a question. What is the purpose of meditation? What am I supposed to achieve in a few months or few years of practice? Through meditation, I think, first of all, we get these glimpses of who we are when we meditate, and especially in heartfulness way. all our weaknesses come forefront. They get highlighted. And once these weaknesses remain highlighted, you have no other choice but to work on them. You become more aware. Later on, what about the strength? You will not be happy with whatever strength or expertise you have. Through meditation, there's infinite possibility where you say, I have done so well so far, but I like to improve further.
There are few things which Daji talked about and touched base, and which I noted down when I was listening. The one aspect that he mentioned is playing with consciousness. What does it, what does it, he was referring to, what I understand from it. I'll just put it in in an example, very simple example, which I usually faced when I started driving. So there was a constant nudge at times, that suddenly someone has came in front of my car. And there was a, freeze state within my body when just this thought, I'm just, sitting idly, and this thought came. The system was freezed. Now, had it happened in the real scenario when I was actually driving and someone came, same reaction, and there would have been a big accident. But when I started analyzing these small feelings which keep entering in my system, sitting idle, it was actually what I learned is it was actually meant to train my system how to respond to such scenarios. No one plans for an accident, so that's not an accident. So what we prepare is how we avert such typical scenario, and accident is avoided. So that's where one example of playing with consciousness comes, that okay, in case such scenario happens in front of me in real life, what are the few things in my control and what are the things which is not in my control? The way I looked into it, something, I cannot control the person entering in front of my car. And that's beyond. Second thing, if I have a blind spot, I cannot correct that. It's just that I can keep looking into my side mirror, but then there is a limit to it. The next thing is, one thing which is in my control is to stare very hard, but then there is highly likely chances that I can hit near something else. So avoiding one accident, I'm getting into some another accident. Another scenario that, when we start accepting that scenario, that okay, if something like this happens, first we reject it and then avoided it. Now here we have accepted it. So there is a gentle shift in the consciousness, which was referred in the video. That okay, once I accept that okay, it is possibility that someone suddenly comes in front of my car, and then I accept that, then these suggestions or these thoughts, these feelings starts coming. Okay, what can be done? Saying sorry is not a solution. We can avert it by reducing our speed, putting a brake very high. So, and there is a mental exercise that happens. We are just sitting idle in a room and then training our system to prepare for something which we have not seen, which is, which can be part of our superconsciousness. That there is an indication which is, coming within, popping in our heart, saying that, okay, if such scenarios happen, what you're going to do? Instead of being, afraid of or stopping the practice of driving, we try to solve so that the efficiency in our system comes in, because we are trying to be more efficient and effective in whatever we do, whatever profession we are doing. And in this fashion, we have utilized our available consciousness to expand it and handle a scenario which is not, we have not experienced. And each response is different. We can be reactive. It could be several, learned approach of this can be done. Insurance, club, all those things. But then there's something that can be averted and skillfully executed. And that's where, the refinement of ego comes in, where we have utilized our, ability to do something into doing something which is right. That's something which is, I kind of understand from, when we say that, okay, playing with consciousness, there could be several examples. There could be I have a limited understanding. There could be several scenarios which is which can be applied. So we have looked into two aspects. One is how we utilize our subconsciousness to do work efficiently. And secondly, how the accessing this super consciousness by allowing it to flower in our system, the small feelings flowering into our system, how we can actually, when that day comes or some that happens, we are ready to face it. It was I just read it. I heard from in system that, okay, Lord Krishna, who was just 11 years of age, he was able to plan the entire Mahabharata in a very early stage, at the age of 8 or 10. And Mahabharata happened when he was close to 80, 72 or 80. So that's something which is that has happened. So there are certain things that can be planned ahead, and we all focus on planning year over year. So there are several things that can be planned in terms of refining our own system. So there is another video which I have in my mind to share with you. This is more about, success. So I'll just bring it up. Okay, I'll just make it full screen and play.
When you don't love your work, it tires you very fast. Your attitude towards the work has to change. Do you love your work? Then something will happen, something can happen. I will start with quotation from Lord Krishna. He says, Asantasya kuto sukham. One who is not at peace, how can he derive happiness? Happiness is sought by everything. Every living being seeks happiness without any exception. Be it an ant or a monkey or a donkey or a bird or human beings. Everyone seeks some sort of happiness. Happiness is possible. Is it possible when you are not at peace? And is peace possible in the lack of harmony? Is harmony possible without contemplative, focused mind? Is focused mind possible without meditation? So meditation is one way of arriving through all the steps: focused mind, contemplative mind, creating harmony, creating peace, arriving at happiness. Now, when you ask a question on openness, opening of the heart is always a must. Without it, there is no go. Opening of the heart means listening the others, perceiving the others without any prejudice. Moment you bring in prejudice, suppose I'm listening to you, at the same time I'm processing in my mind how to answer you back and hit you hard, then I'm not listening to you. I would say it is heartful listening. Listen very heartfully, with joy, with patience, with poise. And poise is the product of meditation. Often we don't listen. We say, I'm hearing you, but we don't listen. Number one problem. Number two is already this listening is tainted with a prejudice. And number three is the ego. Though you like the statement, suggestion made by others, and this happens between the bosses, especially bosses who are appointed by the chairman. And these bosses, when some subordinate comes up and says, sir, let's do it this way. And the boss gets angry, even though the subordinate is right. And that creates a lot of problems. So lack of openness, acceptance. So openness and acceptance are also the elements that go together. And this all, I would say, you see, I give you my own example from my business days, business times. Even simple things like what to manufacture. Will this product fly? What is the consequence? What are the legal ramifications? What are the financial ramifications? What are the professional, technological aspect of it? You'll have multiple choices in all these arenas, right? And for that, you have to have a meeting with so many people, but you are the best person to decide on that. Just close your eyes and dissect everything in your head. You'll come to a right conclusion. What to order, what not to order, whom to associate with, whom not to associate with. And the simplest thing is, when you have 10 people meeting you or 10 projects, and when you are meditating and you saw your notes that I have to meet these 10 individuals and 10 things are pending for me. In meditation, you'll be able to filter it. Not this, not this, not this. And you'll come to only what is most important and vital. So you end up selecting what is right, where I should be effectively spending my time with, and where I should, or individuals I should be avoiding. So it filters out. So I would say the solution to many problems is meditation. And Lord Krishna himself says that meditative mind, which is a product of meditation, is in a state of yoga, right? And when you are in a state of yoga, he said, yoga karmashu kausalam. Through such a state of mind, every activity attains perfection. I highly recommend this yogic approach, spiritual approach to life. See, without spiritual approach to material life, bhautik jivan, our day-to-day affairs in the business world, life will go unsatisfied. You can become very successful in whatsoever you are doing, but if there is no touch of spirituality, there is no fragrance, there is no juice in it, there is no life in it. Once you bring spirituality into equation, for example, in relationship, spirituality means love, right? Whenever you say in my family there is love, in my children there is love, in my work there is love. When you do the work with love, it doesn't trouble you at all. You don't get tired when you love your work. When you don't love your work, it tires you very fast. Your attitude towards the work has to change. So you love your work, then something will happen, something can happen. I give you one example. My Guruji used to say, look at the laborer in the farm. He's cursing his boss. and working. When am I going to go home? I don't even get enough money. Why should I be doing this? And they shortcut everything. Look at his body. He's not developing muscles, though he gets enough food from his boss. And look at your son or daughter going to gym with an attitude that I'm going to gym, I'm building my body, I'm becoming fit. If the same attitude the farmer had, that I'm becoming fit by working hard and I'm enjoying this work, then his body will also improve. That's the difference between a good employee and a bad employee, attitude. More than your professional, I would say, knowledge, professional expertise, I prefer that people develop attitude first. And then professionalism can add to it. Then you become better in your acts. Even sleep, I would say, when you go to sleep because you are tired, versus when you are going to sleep with a restive, peaceful mind, when you have made peace with everything that you have done during the day, you settle the score and go to sleep. That sleep changes its nature, and you'll be so fresh when you awaken in the morning. And as soon as you're up, meditate, carry the meditative mind to your office, come back home, iron out all the mental creases or feelings that you have created during the day, and interact with the family. So the whole cycle is fascinating, actually. And the atmosphere of the home will change. When you spouse and yourself are meditating together, imagine the energy field it creates, and the children, when they see you two meditate together, they'll also, the energy vibrations will also rub off on them, see?
Thoughts about, from Daji about being successful. And this is also an extension of how we are utilizing our consciousness, available consciousness, to perform our task excellently. One thing which came interestingly during the talk was when he mentioned about the openness, about the acceptance. So these are certain ingredients that helps us in expanding our consciousness. As in the previous example, when I mentioned, right, when these certain feelings prompt you in the heart, and outrightly we reject it, saying that, this is not something ever going to happen to me. Something similar like, taking a term insurance. Something which is, if something is prompting you how to work it. So there is first thing which is, you mentioned, is accepting without any condition. It's not that easy, right? It's always, for us, if there is some or the other bias, this is coming, surely is going to be something bad. Why there is something bad? There could be something good also. And these things comes, when we practice a very simple thing of giving a pause. When the feeling comes, should I rush, or first understand that feeling and then take next action? So that's where this acceptance or taking the action comes in. So, and the very first thing in heartfulness that we start, accepting is, okay, there is something unique in me which is keeping me alive, and accepting it. From there, once we are starting, so then rest everything, the acceptance for rest of the things starts growing. And it gives us the ability to pause before we act or react on anything. There are several other things, in expanding the consciousness, which I'd like to cover tomorrow. So for today, I think we have touched base upon few things, like to lead a balanced life, we should be conscious about what is happening around us. It's a degree of awareness. In the language of yogic science, the consciousness is a combination of manas, buddhi, ahankar, mind, intellect, and ego. So in a way, these are key ingredients, and there is an expansion of or evolution of each element, which helps in expansion of the consciousness. From simple thinking process, where we look into an object and think about whether it's a green, red, blue, or how I'm going to drive this. These are clutch gear. We start feeling that, this person is little shaky when he's driving. Be conscious when you're overtaking him. Or looking at, far on the road, there seems to be a traffic or people congested. Is there something, wrong happening? Let's be aware. So from simple thinking, we have moved towards feeling. So that's where our mind gradually evolves with practice. Now, from intellect, how the intellect evolves is something which is the inputs that we have received from the environment or from our senses, from our vision, taste, sound. We analyze whether I'm in fight or a flight mode or freeze mode. Getting an intuitions about, something is going to happen, we slow down. Our heart very, very promptly helps us that, there is something, be cautious about. It could be good. So it's always good for something which we are doing. It's just that we need to navigate through. And that's where the refinement of ego comes in. Instead of just hitting on something or fighting with something, we learn the art of navigating through, and with love, with joy, so that there is less amount of impression that gets created, burden us, and we remain joyful, as mentioned in previous video. We make peace with the day during, for all the activities from the day, and then go to bed. So this making peace with the day is also aspect of helping, being aware of our consciousness. Something that has happened, happened. There's no point in fighting with it. So there is a refinement of these three elements happen within our system, and then we gradually move towards next level. So let's start with, now I think this is something which I want to take a pause now. I do not see any question in the chat box.
Sir, I have shared some question in the chat box.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just have taken. What is heartfulness meditation and how does it differ from other meditation practices? Okay, so I think that's very interesting question, because there is always a comparison, which is very viable, right? That by another new method of meditation. Since I have not practiced, in my childhood, I practiced transcendental meditation from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, where there was lots of focus on my Kundalini. But because it was a childhood, I've never experimented it never invested that much of time in learning or understanding it. But what I understood and what I refer is with the heartfulness meditation, or I should say dhyana, which is the right word which we should be referring. This movement of my awareness, from what is my present to a higher sense, that's the purpose of meditation. And anything that is helping me in attaining is something which is beneficial for us. There are several meditation practices which essentially means to help us evolve in these consciousness. Whether it is helping me or not, that's I'm going to judge, right? With heartfulness, the element of pranamati, which assist us in acceleration of this consciousness shift, where, as was mentioned in the video, the opening of heart becomes natural. There's we don't have to force something or press it from outside. It's a growth from inside out. So that's where I feel that heartfulness meditation is helping as an individual, for every individual. It's an individual practice. So it's helping us to grow from inside out, to bring that openness. So that is something which is unique from heartfulness meditation, which is with the help of transmission. It helps us to touch in those small feelings which is arriving in our heart and take it in a right fashion, understand it in a right fashion. Every practice must have some very important things. This is one aspect. The second aspect of heartfulness meditation is about, cleaning the consciousness, which Daji mentioned in the previous meeting, ironing out all the creases that we have created during the day, which is referred as rejuvenation or a cleaning process. So this is something which is unique to heartfulness, where we with sankalpa, let these impressions that we have introduced during our actions during the day to leave our system from the back and become as clear in thought process as we were in the morning, as light, as joyful in the morning. So it's always something which is, we have a reference to fall back to. If end of the day, if I feel that okay, morning I was more joyful and now I'm feeling bit heavier, that means there is something which has collected. This feeling has collected, right? This impression is in terms of feeling. And this is precisely what we clean in the evening process, where we remove these creases that has come up, and gradually in 15-20 minutes of time, we come to know that okay, now I start feeling light. Now my state is comparable to what was there in the morning. So this is something which is very practical approach. What is the best time to do so? I hope I answered my first question. So the second question is, when is the best time to do meditation? Okay. When is my best time? I have an experience of meditating at a different spectrum of different times. Saying at 4:30 also I meditated, at 6:30 also meditated, 9 a.m. also meditated, 12 noon also meditated, at times 3 p.m. I meditated. So if you put in a practice, it's something which if my system is clean and I'm not involved in any work as of now, that means my analytical mind has not triggered in. So that is where that's the best time when I start my meditation, or I'm feeling refreshed. It's better to connect with it. So meditation is a process when I connect my consciousness with my inner self. So that is something which is very that's the best time, I should say, when I'm able to connect to it. So it could be in the morning, it could be in the noon. Usually it is preferred that to be done before sunrise. And the experiment which I did is, it was easier for me to do the meditation before sunrise, means to make this connection when before sunrise versus after sunrise. So this is something to be experienced. It's not to be taken as word verbatim. It's basically something which I myself experienced, that okay, before sunrise it was easier for me to connect to my inner self, and after sunrise I need to put a little more effort in connecting, and this is a very subtle thing. So something to be experienced. If you have experienced, that will be wonderful, and we'll identify our own best time. At noon time, it's always also good. I found it easier for me to connect during the noon time, right? At 12. So sometimes it becomes very easy. There is something in the nature that helps me to connect better. Okay, now something which is, a third question is, how do I carry heartfulness meditation all day? Not with closed eyes, that's for sure, because there are several things to be done. Now, carrying this condition of uh, meditative state, which I was referring, right? It's easier to connect. So I think um, what we have learned, that's what my experience had been, that unless I have a word for it, it's difficult for me to recall, and that's something which I have to break. I'm started breaking that. Okay, there is the feelings is much natural to us. The feelings are very natural to us, and if we if we openness with, if we accept this, then it becomes part of our system. So the way I practice is, unless I feel that state, I might not be able to give name to that feeling. It comes up gradually during the day, but I let that every cell of my system to be absorbed in it, whatever the feeling is. And once that is there, it's part of my system. And then whatever inclination or whatever action I take, will see that my system automatically responds. Okay, in this scenario, I have to work in this fashion. This will be my response. So those inner guidance keep coming. And once this start coming, and when we take courage to follow it, then this state amplifies. So the moment it amplifies, then it becomes natural to you. So this is actually a very simple thing. It's not that to be exercised a lot. It's something we build our muscle when we are running, when we're learning the car, and now all our limbs are perfectly trained to execute that task. And that is the natural, and that's where we need to tap our subconsciousness to to absorb this state into our subconsciousness, so that it becomes very natural to us. Trying it artificially in the beginning, but then artificially we try it in the very initial time. It's not very every 15 minutes, 30 minutes I have to put an effort. That means there is something wrong. The way I usually look is, if I'm putting too much of energy to explore my inner self, that means the energy is doing something, and there is something which I'm missing. So that's where I did a course correction. I always do a course correction. That's how I prefer carrying the meditative state that has been developed during morning meditation throughout the day. I think these are the three questions that was posted. If there is nothing else, we have 10 more minutes. Let's practice the meditation and experience it. So what I'll suggest is, gently close your eyes. And we are here actually trying to accept that unique life force which is present within our system. Let's accept that, okay, I am part of that, or it is part of me. Let's experience it and let it guide us. Let the healing energy from earth help us relax. All the stress in our system simply melting away. System is completely ready for meditation, dhyan. Gently close your eyes and connect with the inner being. That life force which is already present in our system is pulling our attention. We are getting deeply absorbed into it. Gently open your eyes. Just quickly summarize, what we have discussed during a session. For a balanced life, we need to be aware of all the things around us, aware of things around us. A degree of awareness is what is defined as consciousness. There are several yogic practices to help us evolve our consciousness. Which is a composition of Manas, Buddhi and Ahankar. In heartfulness, with the help of Pranahuti, the evolution of Manas, Buddhi and Ahankar has been accelerated so that our degree of awareness grows and the growth comes from inside so that we are more balanced in our approach. The few elements that helps us in evolving is bringing openness, accepting things, and automating certain habits which help us in solving, dealing with crisis or critical situations. There is an aspect of playing with consciousness that has happened, and maintaining the meditative state is an example of playing with the consciousness. Tomorrow we'll touch few more aspects on the same. With this, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for delivering this wonderful session. And thanks to all the participants who have joined this session. And also thanks to our expert for being with us throughout the session. With this, we are concluding this session. Thank you all.